Ukraine faces attacks and power outages as Russia war rages. Russian mercenary group builds anti-tank fortress, satellite image shows. The fortress consists of 4 columns of cement pyramids. The Russians will block Ukrainian vehicles and tanks from moving eastwards. I hope that behind the anti-tank installation, there is a large ditch. Additional satellite images from the European Space Agency show that the trench excavation took place in 2 parts of the first section of the trench was excavated from 25 September. His second section of the ditch from September-October 30 and 2 Russian media outlets reported on a fortress dubbed Wagner Line, after the Russian mercenary group Wagner. Zvezda TV, the Russian military news agency, said this was a second line of defense should Ukrainians attempt to break through the area. But nothing will stop the Ukrainian army from scurrying around the fort, which stretches for just a mile or a little more. Russian tabloid RIA Fan said on Wednesday that the Wagner Group will continue to build its line from the Russian-Ukrainian border, stretching east to Crimea and then south to Svitlodarsk. Published a map to his CNN analysis of the map showed that such a long fort stretches about 217 kilometers, about 135 miles. Additional satellite imagery seen by CNN showed no other construction along the alleged Wagner Line course. This is not the first time the Wagner Group has used trenches to fortify their positions. 3 members of the U.S. House Intelligence Committee met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on Friday. It is the first time in more than a month that a parliamentary delegation has visited the city since Russia launched a campaign of airstrikes against civilian infrastructure in the Ukrainian capital and other major cities. Delegation Representative Jim Himes, standing near the scene of the recent drone attack on a Kyiv power plant, told CNN's Nick Robertson that the visit would show solidarity with Ukraine. He said it was to show what he was fighting for: democracy, that so many people around the world hold dear. Support the Ukrainian people and government, he told Democrat Himes. Republican congressman asked by CNN if U.S. aid to Ukraine could change if Republicans win a majority in the House in November's midterm elections. Mike Turner said, "There is strong bipartisan support for Ukraine." After Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said that if Republicans won the House, they may not be helping a beleaguered nation anytime soon. Remember, this topic became a hot topic during the campaign this week. Framed its position as undermining U.S. leadership in a stable world. Creation of air shield. The Ukrainian armed forces considers strengthening its air defense capabilities a major concern. According to a statement released by his office, Zelensky asked the visiting delegation for help in creating what he called an air shield over the country. Turner told CNN that as the nature of the threat changes, so will the U.S. arms and intelligence supply to Ukraine. "We are looking at both air defense and how we can beat these individual drones. But we have to do it together," he says. "Our goals are aligned." Senior British, French and German diplomats have asked the United Nations to investigate Iran's supply of drones to Russia, according to a letter seen by CNN. Officials in the letter allege that the arms transfer violates UN Security Council resolutions restricting certain weapons from entering or exiting Iran. "We welcome the investigation by the United Nations Secretariat team, responsible for overseeing the implementation of UNSCR 2231, and stand ready to assist the Secretariat in its work to conduct a technical and impartial investigation." UNSCR 2231, it was associated with the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. The diplomats said all Iranian drone models were manufactured after the resolution entered into force, and that the transfer was not pre-approved by the Security Council. The 3 countries want a UN team to visit Ukraine to investigate the matter, according to the letter. Earlier this week, the Russian ambassador said Moscow would re-evaluate cooperation with Guterres when a team of experts was sent to Ukraine to inspect the drones. Some background. A growing number of countries and international organizations are denouncing coordination between Russia and Iran in drone attacks targeting civilian infrastructure. Both Moscow and Tehran officials deny that Iran supplied and trained Russian forces to use the deadly weapon. Earlier this week, State Department spokesman Ned Price said there was sufficient evidence that Russia was using Iranian drones to target civilians and critical civilian infrastructure, particularly in Ukraine. Said the United States has. The White House added allegations that the Iranian military gave the Russians hands-on training and weapons. Earlier this week, the European Union and the UK introduced sanctions against Iranian drone manufacturers.